Comparative report. Social systems of the U.S.
I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, it just occurred to me that right about this time, it might be interesting to do some comparisons on the tax system as it relates to the social system, uh, and do a comparative from the perspective of the US versus the Scandinavian, or more particularly Denmark, where I am, and that is Copenhagen. Because a lot of people, actually, they hear that there's differences, but the differences never get broken down to them. And I myself, as an American, or a U.S. citizen, and American, I don't find it so. I just find it strange that the media, the news media, doesn't go more into it. I mean, sure, some of them do. I'm not going to blanket all of the media that way, right? But it just seems like something people would do more. Maybe it's not the media, maybe it's the schools, the education system in general. And interestingly enough, the education system where I am, it's built into the social system, the social net. So that's one of the things that I want to get into today. But check this out. I'm going to start off and play you just a simple explanation of that from ChatGPT, and you tell me what it tells you. Okay? And yeah, thanks to ChatGPT, it's sure, you have to always research and try different approaches. So in ChatGPT, that would be ask it the same question in various ways and see what you come up with, and be aware of that. No matter what your argumentation is, that, you better really research something and not just ask once, because that doesn't count as research, But in this case, I have, and I'm pretty comfortable with the response, but anyone can do this. So having said that, let's move right ahead. Let's see here. This is the comparative study between the US and Denmark in terms of the social welfare net, or the social
Comparative report. Social systems of the USA and Denmark. The social systems of the United States and Denmark differ significantly, especially in terms of government-provided services, social safety nets, and taxation. These differences are most apparent in areas such as healthcare, education, childcare, housing, unemployment benefits, and worker leave policies. Denmark's model is based on a strong welfare state, while the U.S. favors a more market-driven approach with a smaller public safety net. 1. Healthcare. Denmark. Denmark has a universal healthcare system funded through taxes. All citizens receive free or heavily subsidized healthcare, including doctor visits, hospital stays, and emergency care. USA. The U.S. lacks a universal healthcare system. Healthcare is largely privatized, with a mix of employer-provided insurance, government programs like Medicaid.
Well, let me just cover the first part. It went kind of fast, so I'm going to play that one more time.
Comparative report. Social systems of the USA and Denmark. The social systems of the United States and Denmark differ significantly, especially in terms of government-provided services, social safety nets, and taxation. These differences are most apparent in areas such as healthcare, education, childcare, housing, unemployment benefits, and worker leave policies. Denmark's model is based on a strong welfare state, while the U.S. favors a more market-driven approach with a smaller public safety net. 1. Healthcare.
Market-driven versus smaller welfare net, or smaller safety net. Market-driven. People should break down, what does market-driven mean? Because, it essentially means the social net so much is not there. It's leaning towards the market, not necessarily. And but how do they define the market? Let's look into that.
Denmark. Denmark has a universal healthcare system funded through taxes. All citizens receive free or heavily subsidized healthcare, including doctor visits, hospital stays, and emergency care. USA. The US lacks a universal healthcare system. Healthcare is largely privatized, with a mix of employer provided insurance, government programs like Medicare and Medicaid, and private insurance markets. Out of pocket expenses and insurance premiums can be significant for individuals. 2. Education. Denmark. Education is free from primary school through university. The state also provides financial support for students, known as SU, to cover living expenses. USA. Public education is free up to high school, but higher education is expensive. While there are scholarships and federal loans, students often accumulate substantial debt. Public universities are generally more affordable than private ones, but tuition still tends to be much higher than in Denmark. 3. Childcare. Denmark. Childcare is heavily subsidized, with parents paying only a fraction of the total cost. High-quality daycare and preschool are available to all families, allowing for greater workforce participation. USA. Childcare costs in the US are mostly borne by families, and the cost can be prohibitively high. Subsidies and tax credits exist for lower-income families, but they are much less generous than in Denmark. 4. Housing. Denmark. Denmark provides substantial social housing and rent subsidies. Rent control laws also help stabilize the housing market. The government actively works to ensure affordable housing is available to low-income citizens. USA. The U.S. offers housing assistance primarily through public housing, housing vouchers, and tax credits for low-income individuals. But these programs are less comprehensive and reach fewer people than in Denmark. The housing market is mostly driven by private ownership, and rents are generally market-determined. 5. Unemployment benefits. Denmark. Denmark has a generous unemployment insurance system. Workers pay into unemployment insurance funds, which provide up to 90% of previous earnings for up to 2 years. Active labor market policies help the unemployed re-enter the workforce through training and job placement services. Unemployment benefits vary by state but are generally much lower. Benefits typically replace a small portion of income, often around 40 to 60%, and last up to 6 months in most states. The U.S. provides fewer resources for job retraining or active labor market policies. 6. Parental and general leave from work. Denmark. Denmark offers extensive parental leave, with 52 weeks of paid leave available to parents, including maternity, paternity, and shared leave. Sick leave and other forms of paid leave are also widely available and covered through social insurance. USA. The U.S. has no mandatory paid parental leave at the federal level. The Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, guarantees up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave for certain employees, but paid leave policies are left to individual employers or states. Some states, like California and New York, have instituted paid leave policies, but these are the exception rather than the norm. 7. Tax rates. Denmark. Denmark funds its extensive welfare system through high taxes. Income taxes range from 37% to 52% depending on earnings, and there is a 25% value-added tax on goods and services. Social contributions are built into these tax rates, covering healthcare, education, and other welfare benefits. USA. The U.S. has a lower overall tax burden. Federal income taxes range from 10 to 37% depending on income, and states may add additional income taxes. The U.S. also has lower Social Security and Medicare contributions compared to Denmark. Sales taxes, which vary by state, are lower than Denmark's VAT, typically ranging from 0% to 10%. Conclusion. Denmark's social system is more comprehensive and based on the principle of universal welfare, supported by higher taxes. The U.S. system, on the other hand, relies more on private provision and market mechanisms, resulting in lower taxes but greater out-of-pocket costs for services like healthcare, education, and childcare. While Denmark prioritizes social equality through its welfare model, the U.S. emphasizes individual responsibility and choice within a more limited safety net.
Right. And yeah, so for those of you that want a brief explanation of and a comparative of the taxes and the social net between the US and DK, there you have it. Um, The actual question that I did ask ChatGDP was 37%. I asked about 37%, and this one, um, this one didn't really have, or was it? No, maybe it was another one. I did 37%. But generally, the other part of it, what is this? Look at this. Here's the question right here. As a matter of fact, I'm about to play it. I forgot I did it. So check this out. This is what I asked as a follow up question. Um, 37%. I want to know, where do the people that pay 37% in tax, whether they're in the US or they're in Denmark, what how would they be described? But ChatGDP didn't have an answer right away for that. So it had an answer for a few different tax brackets. So here is the answer.
In the United States and Denmark, individuals who pay income tax at the 37% rate fall into different social and economic categories due to the distinct tax structures in each country. USA federal tax rate 37%. In the US, those who pay the top federal tax rate of 37% are typically considered part of the upper income or wealthy class. This rate applies to single filers with annual income over $578,125. Married couples filing jointly with income over $693,750 as of 2024. Individuals in this tax bracket often include high-earning professionals, e.g., top executives, business owners, high-level tech workers, doctors, and lawyers, as well as investors or those with substantial capital gains or passive income from real estate or investments. These taxpayers represent the highest earners in the country, a small percentage of the population. Denmark, top marginal rate 52%. In Denmark, those who pay income tax at or near the top marginal rate of 52% are also part of the higher income group, but this encompasses a broader range of earners compared to the US. Danish income tax is highly progressive, and relatively middle to high earners will face the highest tax rates. For example, income exceeding DKK 544,800 annually, approximately $80,000 USD. Denmark's welfare state means that even those considered middle class by US standards could fall into this high tax bracket. However, in Denmark, these individuals still have access to a wide array of publicly funded services like healthcare, education, and childcare. Therefore, while they are taxed heavily, they receive substantial benefits in return. Summary of class perceptions. The 37% tax rate largely affects the wealthy and upper income class, with income levels far above the national average. These individuals often have access to private services and amenities. Denmark. The top earners paying close to 52% income tax include a mix of upper middle and upper class citizens. Despite paying higher taxes, these individuals benefit from strong social services, making them part of a more socially equal society. The broader definition of high earners in Denmark is more inclusive than in the US due to the country's progressive tax system and extensive social safety net. In both cases, those paying the highest income tax rates are financially well off, but Denmark's definition of high earners covers a larger section of the population than the US does.
Yes. And you know something? That was very interesting. Uh, Basically, the totality, well, one of the big things that came out, you heard that in the end, was that there's more top earners. There's more of a percentage of top earners in the Danish economy, in terms of workers, employees, these kind of things, than there are in the US. The US is 37%, and they pay that tax rate. And in Denmark, the people that pay 52%, they're they may pay more in taxes, but there's more of them, a lot more of them, right? So you do the math on that one. But it also explained how these people, even when they pay a higher tax rate, um, they still get the social services that everybody pays into. So in essence, what they keep, that may result in a better quality. Uh, you know, you keep more money to yourself, essentially. I mean, you get more out of it because although you pay higher in taxes, what are you getting for the taxes? You're getting a lot more for those taxes. You're getting education, you're getting health care, right? You're getting childcare, right? Yeah, and that's just the beginning. I believe some housing subsidies, of course, right? And that equals cash, essentially. That's money too. You see what I mean? So, yeah, exactly, yo. Uh, I wanted to keep this one short, but I will be back shortly, in maybe 20 minutes, a half an hour, something like that. And I look forward to seeing everybody again. Be good, and I'll catch you right back.